All right, so the article kind of lays out the black eyes of democracy these days, like the way it is getting bloodied. We have a lot of circumstances in the U.S. seeming to try to fight these free and fair elections that are going on. There seems to be a lot of deaths in Mexico around the election time. A lot of candidates were dying here and there. Before they finally elected their current president. In Europe, there has been I can't say sudden, but sudden to people who didn't look at news beforehand, push to the right, far right, unfortunately, which brings back, about 100 years ago, thoughts about 100 years ago, some autocracies forming at that time. Venezuela has had issues. I mean, just countries around the world who have claimed to be democracies are now facing issues that seem quite undemocratic and worry people on how to keep that. And then, like you said, this issue in South Korea has happened as well, leading people to worry about the democracy's strength. Now, fortunately, in Korea, it does seem that the people still have this strong idea of it. Because like I have kind of heard and I kind of agree with, democracies that have passionate people have hope. Democracies that have apathetic people have no hope. And we see a lot of passionate people in South Korea for both sides. So that means that there is hope for a strong democracy still. And so that's kind of what the story goes through. There's a couple more examples in there. And I do encourage you to look them up because they are interesting stories. And if you want to get some pretty high advanced vocabulary from English sort of reading, go into politics. That's gonna be difficult. Politics or economy, I think.
Yeah, gosh, I find economics very difficult.
Oh boy. Sometimes I look up a word and then I have to look up words in that definition to understand that definition of, I'm like, the futures is what? And then what is a warranty? Okay. And anyways. So what do you think are some of the common ways that political violence and unrest can start?
I guess to actually get violent, I think people have to be really upset. So on a very basic level, I read somewhere, it's an old saying that every society is 3 meals away from revolution. So what they mean is basically people just have to miss 3 meals. They don't have enough food for one day. And that's enough to make people desperate to get out on the streets and perhaps get violent. If you look at the French Revolution, if you look at various, the Russian Revolution as well, what really is driving the ordinary people is desperation. Living conditions that they cannot tolerate anymore.
And that's been, basically the reason for uprisings, whether it's democratic or not. Like, they're like, oh, we gotta eat. So, 3 meals though. Could you do 3 meals?
Oh, well, it depends. I could do it if I knew that on the next day there would be food.
I see.
If I could see food in the future. But if I just thought, oh my God, this is how it's going to be now, I wouldn't last long before I started to get violent.
It does make sense. If you don't know when the next meal is, 3 seems like a lot. 1 is a lot almost.
1 is not comfortable. But
so let's say democracies are missing these meals, figuratively. How can we help democracies endure these sort of violent uprisings or unrest?
I guess it's finding the balance. How do you minimize the actual harm? I mean, nobody really wants to, even if I really hate the particular politician, I don't actually want to murder him. I just want to use enough violence to make them stop. Or change the law or give me enough food in that case. How do you minimize the real harm, the physical harm, whilst showing strength and not allowing bad things to continue? It's a tough call. I mean, even surrounding the current situation we've just had, it's like so many people on both sides, both like the army guys and the politicians and the protesters, they managed to use violence but stop short of actually hurting anybody, which is like the ideal level, really, I guess.
Bring it out to here. Oh, okay.
How do you manage that? I don't know. I hope long may it continue. Good job, South Korea.
Not this particularly per se, but it reminds me of those videos where there's like two dogs that are really hating each other, barking, but they're behind a door. But when they open the door, they just kind of, and then they close it. Yeah, keep it like that. But also do know that democracy, although we say strong and weak, that's talking about the process, not talking about the ability for democracy to live. Democracy is fragile. It always has been and always will be. And that's why we need passionate people to keep it alive.
Definitely. Yeah, it's not for one side or the other. It's not for any particular politician. It's just a system.
It's just a system. And we have to keep the system if we want to live the way we are used to.
And that involves when politicians get elected that you don't like, you have got to let them be elected. And if your party doesn't get the majority and you think that was a free and fair election, then you have to accept the result, as hard as that may be.
Especially if the evidence points to free and fair, but maybe that's not your thought. Anyways, All right, well, guys, go ahead and look at the vocabulary. There is quite a good bit in there. Not only the harder ones that you might find in politics, but just ones that you could use in your everyday English. And do so. All right, guys, bye.
Resilient.
Resilient.
Oust.
Oust.
Incumbent.
Incumbent.
Fragility.
Fragility.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.